innocent until proven guilty. But as Erin Moriarty explains, if you've been wrongfully convicted, reversing a guilty verdict can be all but impossible.
I'm just not a person to give up. I knew there was somebody out there somewhere would help me. This is a picture of me.
In 1988, Joyce Watkins and her boyfriend Charlie Dunn were wrongfully convicted of a terrible crime, the murder of Joyce's 4-year-old great niece, Brandi.
It took everything away from us. It took us from our families, him from his kids, took us from everything we worked for.
Charlie Dunn died in prison. But last December, in a Nashville, Tennessee courtroom, 74-year-old Joyce Watkins finally heard the words she had prayed for from the Davidson County District Attorney General, Glenn Funk.
I want to say to both Ms. Watkins and to the family of Charlie Dunn that I believe they were actually innocent.
I had been trying to get this done for a long time.
How long?
It took 35 years.
Exonerations are rare, and this one might never have happened if not for an extraordinary partnership between attorneys who are usually on opposite sides, those who defend the accused and the prosecutors who put them away.
Our job is not just to seek convictions. Our job is to seek to do justice.
District Attorney General Glenn Funk says he is part of a growing number of prosecutors who believe they have to do more to uncover wrongful convictions and to prevent future ones.
The goals have to be not only righting any past wrong, then it's also how did we get it wrong? Because we can't make that same mistake again going forward.
In 2015, Funk set up a conviction review unit, and to show how serious he was, in 2020, Funk hired a lifelong defense attorney to run it, Sonny Eaton.
I think it would be fair to say that Glenn and I probably have more heated debates than he might have with anyone else in the office, but I wouldn't be doing my job if that wasn't the case.
But there was little debate over the case of Joyce Watkins, brought to them by her defense attorneys at the Tennessee Innocence Project.
You need to spend all of 2 minutes with Joyce to realize that there is no way that this woman committed the crime she was convicted of doing.
Jason Gitchner is the project's senior attorney.
And it's not consistent with anything we know about Charlie or his family either.
The couple's ordeal began late on the night of June 26, 1987, when a relative asked Joyce to come get her great niece, Brandi, who had been staying with that family member in Kentucky for 2 months. Almost immediately, Joyce says, she knew something was wrong with the child and called Brandi's mother.
I said, look, I'm fixing to take her to the hospital. She said, well, Joyce, we're on the way.
But by morning, when Brandi's mother, who lived 7 hours away, hadn't arrived, Joyce took the child to the emergency room. The 4-year-old, seen here as she was transferred to Vanderbilt Medical Center, was suffering from head and vaginal injuries. She died a day later.
Joyce, did it ever occur to you at that moment that you would be accused of her death?
No.
But they questioned you.
They asked me what happened to her. I told them I didn't know. I couldn't tell them something that I didn't know, because I don't know.
What she also didn't know is that the assistant medical examiner had mistakenly concluded that the child's injuries had occurred when she was at Joyce's house.
Once that opinion came out, everybody just got laser focused on Joyce and Charlie. It didn't matter that they cooperated with the investigation, that they kept meeting with the police over and over again without a lawyer and saying, we didn't do this. Come to the house, come take whatever evidence you want, photograph the scene. It just didn't matter.
When you heard at the hearing last December just how wrong her medical evidence was, how did you feel about that?
Broken. Broken, real heartbroken.
Joyce Watkins believed the appellate courts would make it right, but the truth is, without compelling new evidence, it's difficult to get an appeal, let alone win one. Their appeals were all denied.
Well, that's hurt from the heart, because my daddy was doing time, hard time, or something he didn't do.
Nathaniel Dunn is Charlie's oldest son.
Did you visit him while he was in prison?
Yes, ma'am. It hurt going to see him, and it hurt when I left, you know, because I had to leave him there and he couldn't come home with me. It hurt all over.
Charlie Dunn died of cancer in 2015. Later that year, Joyce Watkins was granted parole and released after 27 years in prison.
What was your mission at that point?
To prove our innocence.
Joyce, determined to clear Charlie's name as well, was unable to do it on her own and turned to the Tennessee Innocence Project.
It's a really tough road to prove that you are actually innocent through our current appeals process.
Jessica Van Dyke is the director.
If you're on your own trying to do this and trying to get medical experts to help you and trying to get back into court and litigate a complicated appellate process, doing that on your own is almost impossible.
And it takes time that Joyce didn't have. So her defense attorneys did something that was once unimaginable. They went to the district attorney's office that once put the couple behind bars and asked for a new look at the case.
There's nothing controversial, there's nothing political, there's nothing adversarial about it. If there's evidence that these people are innocent and went to prison for something that they didn't do, there doesn't need to be a fight about it. We should all be running to the courthouse as fast as we can to fix it.
Last fall, Sunny Eaton filed her report. Her conclusion: the wrong people were tried for Brandi's death.
We have so much information that these injuries with this child happened before ever getting into Joyce and Charlie's custody. They were the only two people who sought help for this child.
Less than 2 months later, in front of a courtroom filled with Joyce and Charlie's family and friends, it was official.
Ms. Watkins, this charge against you is dismissed. And to the family of Charlie Dunn, the charge against Charlie Dunn is dismissed.
It was a happy day. It was a happy day.
There are now conviction review units in 28 states, but the process does not always run smoothly. Some state officials, fearing that reopening cases will clog courts, oppose any efforts to make it easier. Take what happened in St. Louis, Missouri. More than 3 years ago, the city's top prosecutor, Kim Gardner, found overwhelming evidence that Lamar Johnson, in prison for 27 years, was innocent of murder. But the Missouri Attorney General continues to defend his conviction. Johnson remains in a maximum security Missouri prison.
What I'm struggling with is trying to understand why I have not been heard.
I do think it's offensive that some other court or attorney general would try to intervene and keep someone in prison who the district attorney had properly investigated and determined to be innocent.
What about all the DAs and state's attorneys who say we have to protect the integrity of convictions?
Not if we have it wrong.
Getting it wrong in the case of Charlie Dunn and Joyce Watkins caused them to lose everything. Joyce will still need a pardon from the governor to get any compensation. And so far, there's been no justice for 4-year-old Brandi. Whoever killed her is still free.
You never got to grieve either. You never had time to grieve the loss of Brandi.
No, I haven't. But I'm going to go and visit her grave.